Here's a vodcast on the classical adjustment, or how short is the short run. If we start out in equilibrium at E1, economy and long run equilibrium, output is QP, potential output, which is another way of saying that the economy is on the PPF. And so we'll stay there until something disturbs long run equilibrium. For instance, what happens if there's an increase in aggregate demand? We'll move to a new equilibrium, E2, but this is a short run equilibrium only. Why is that? The place to concentrate is here. Why did we move up along the SRAS? Why is the SRAS tilted in the first place? The SRAS tilts because of the lag between prices and wages, because wages go up more slowly, lag behind inflation, the change in price level. Price level has risen up to P2, but because of annual contracts, the nominal wage has not yet risen. As a result, labor temporarily looks cheap. Well, not just looks cheap, it is cheap. The real wage has fallen. If the price level rises and nominal wages don't, the real wage has fallen. That's bad for workers. Their hourly wage buys them less, but it's good for firms. And as a result, more labor will be hired, output will rise to Q2, output rises, unemployment falls because of those people who got jobs, and it won't last. We'll be there for a while, but only for a while. It's a short run equilibrium because eventually wages will catch up. And when wages do catch up, the increase in the real wage when new contracts are negotiated represents a rise in input costs for firms. So the short run aggregate supply curve will shift back, a fall in short run aggregate supply due to an increase in the real wage, wages catch up, in other words. When wages catch up to prices, that's what happens in the long run. In the short run, wages lag behind. In the long run, wages catch up. When they do so, aggregate supply shifts back. We have a new equilibrium at E3, and the price level has risen to P3, so that, to summarize, the long run effect, well, let's just see it again. If we start out in equilibrium at QP on the vertical LRAS curve, what it means to draw the curve vertically is to say that's where you're going to end up in the long run. When all is said and done, an increase in aggregate demand, doesn't seem to be working. Use that one. An increase in aggregate demand moves us from E1 to E2 in the short run, but in the long run, we're back at E3, so the long run effect of an increase in aggregate demand is purely a price effect. We move from E1 to E3. Nothing happens to real output. All that's happened is that price level has risen. The question then is, how long does it take for this to happen? How long are you out at E2? That depends on how quickly you think wages catch up to prices. If wages catch up to prices very quickly, then you're going to go from E1 to E3 quite quickly with just a very short visit to E2. If you think that wages are sticky and it's going to take a long time for wages to catch up with prices, then you might be out at E2 for a long time. Hence the question, how short or long is the short run? How quickly or slowly do wages catch up to prices?